And welcome once again to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. Online, it's retire210.com. If it's time to talk about your retirement, well, let's get that conversation going. Jay does that at a no-cost, no-obligation basis. You can sit down and say, okay, here's what I've done for retirement. How does it look? Let's figure that out together. All right, saving up for retirement, we call that our accumulation years. And then when we get into retirement, decumulation, I guess we could call it. That's when you start spending. But David Blanchett, he was on a podcast and he said, this is where many of us really start to struggle. I don't like seeing my balance go down. And that's what a lot of people are struggling with.
We are not trained to spend from portfolios. We spend 30 or 40 years of our lives saving money for retirement, dreading the idea of that balance going down, right? And then all of a sudden we get to retirement and it's like, oh, you're supposed to deplete this portfolio. You know how long you're going to live. You know what the markets are going to do. And if you spend too much, you're going to work at Walmart when you're 90. Like, we don't have a system that I think is well designed to really maximize how people utilize their savings in retirement.
All right. That's a really good point, Jay. And what happens when they start seeing the money go down, they don't like it. And then they start cutting back, and then they don't enjoy their retirement because they think they're going to run out of money. It's just kind of dominoes falling down. So how do we deal with this? How do we deal with that kind of a fear?
Well, going into this in a bit of a deeper level, what he's identified here, without coming out and saying it, and most people don't think of it this way, is there's the accumulation and there's the decumulation, right? So he mentioned, you build up your money, and people look at risk in the decumulation years and risk in your... There was never really any risk in your accumulation years. Mm-hmm. People talk about it a lot, right? But there was never really any risk, right? You weren't living off your money. If there was a market pullback, I mean, take 2008, for example, right? Most of the people that we have as clients now in 2008, and I had this very similar conversation with them, they were... whatever, like mid-40s, late 40s, early 50s, whatever. And I said, your balance like went in half, roughly. They're like, yeah, it was pretty rough to watch. I was like, yeah, nobody likes to see that. Were you going to use it anytime soon? No, I had a 10, 15-year runway before I was going to retire. And I say, you almost could look at it as an opportunity, right? I mean, you were buying the market at half price. You kept contributing, your employer kept making the contribution, on. And it was a great buying opportunity. Right? Now, take that situation in retirement, and it's probably a game changer. Mm-hmm. It probably ends your retirement, right? So, you've got to create a paycheck out of everything that you've saved. You've got market risk where, did you have market risk before? Well, not if you weren't going to use the money for 10 years. You didn't really have market risk. Now you're draining that money down. You've got sequence of return risk. Everything is going on. So if you don't have a clear plan set up and it's just, hey, I'm just going to peel this money off the top of the account and hopefully it lasts, and then the market goes down 10% and you want to stop taking the distribution and maybe we should cancel that vacation because the market's not doing what I thought it was and I'm worried that we are going to have to work at Walmart when we're 90. Yeah. Of course, you're going to struggle with spending your money. Mm-hmm.
Is it a no-no to get into principal in retirement? You want your money to make money, but watching your principal go down a little bit, that can be uncomfortable too. But isn't that a natural aspect of retirement?
Well, it depends what you want to do with your money. Most people that we talk to, they want to enjoy their life fully with the money they've put away. Mm-hmm. There isn't some big goal of leaving an estate or anything like that, but they want to enjoy their money. So if you want to enjoy all your money, your principal is going to go down. Mm-hmm. Now, the key to it is it retreating in a planned out manner, or do you have no clue at the rate in which it's going down, right? Because it could be, your principal's going down, and you're 5, 6, 10 years into retirement, and that's kind of what we expected with our planning. Mm-hmm. Or it could be, hey, the track you're on, you're going to be out of money when you're 80, and things need to change. But if you're just flying by the seat of your pants, for want of a better term, right, and hoping it works out, you're probably going to have some sleepless nights.
You're listening to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. And this is a really classic example here of people who are trying to do it themselves and people who actually have a financial and an income plan and a tax strategy for their retirement. Yeah, maybe you've saved enough money where you can just, whittle it away and you're going to be just fine. But what if we have another one of those market situations where it goes down 40% or it goes down 30%? I mean, when you think about that, you take a look at your nest egg right now and say, lob off 30%. How you feeling? Not so good. And you'll probably make some concessions in your retirement, cut back some things. And that's not what we want for you. Give Jay a call. Let's sit down and have a meeting about your retirement and just say, how is this all going to work? How does this money last 20, 25, 30 years? Let's go through that exercise. 210-985-6200 is the number for a no-cost, no-obligation look at your retirement. 210-985-6200, or use the website, which is retire210.com. Retire210.com. There's a place for you to put some information there, and the team will reach out to you, and we'll get that going. Get a date on a calendar and start talking through it. And if you make that appointment, we'll also give you a copy of Jay's book, which is Wall Street's Game. All right, one of the things that people use in retirement for income is something called a dividend-paying stock. It's different than buying a stock. You own a little piece of the company, but this one also kicks off a little income for you. And people seem to like that. Well, how do you know which ones to buy? Okay, so you look for things that have a good track record, and I found one here. Kimberly-Clark. Now, we're not making any kind of a recommendation here. I'm just giving you an example, okay? Kimberly-Clark has been paying their dividend every month for 92 years. The diaper business is good.
I guess so. Yeah.
They started in 1934, and they've been good and consistent ever since. So we're looking for companies like that. So, Jay, how do you identify those companies? How do you find them? I mean, obviously, this is what we're looking for here. Do you use dividend-paying stocks within your portfolio, and how do you choose those kind of things?
So, the amount of screens and kind of research you can do on the dividend side of things, projected future earnings, past history, things like this that you talked about right here. Yeah, that's all important. I'm going to pivot a little bit into the idea of using dividend-paying stocks to fund your retirement. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what kind of realistically you could expect in dividend income, percentage-wise, mm-hmm. right? And then we'll talk about how practical it is for most people. Most people, when they're thinking of dividend stocks, hey, these are more stable companies. That's true. Right? Usually, the ones that are paying dividends are more established because what you mentioned is you're an owner of the company. Yes, incredibly small owner, but mm-hmm. you're part of the owner of the company. Mm-hmm. And so if a company makes profits, you're part of the ownership, so you should get paid, right? That's essentially what a dividend is, right? Okay. Most people that start that conversation are assuming that these dividends are 7, 8, 9, 10%. And I've got some bad news for you. If you are looking at a company that has dividends that high, you should probably dig into a little bit more about what's going on with that company, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. If you're talking about the Kimberly-Clarks and all of these big blue chip dividend payers, it's like 2, 3, 4%.
Okay.
Right? It's not these 7, 8, 9, 10%. You can go out and find companies like that. You should be careful about how much you engage them because very often the dividend is being paid to attract investors, mm-hmm. right? It's like, hey, we've got this great dividend, come and invest with us. Well, wait a second, if you've got to pay such a... It's like, think about a loan, right? When someone with an 850 credit score goes to get a vehicle loan, I don't know what the rates are now, they might get 6%, right? Someone goes in with below 500, I've got no idea what the lending limit is, right? 500 as a credit score, they're not getting that 6%, mm-hmm. right? It's probably 12 or 14 or 15. Why? Because you've got to compensate the lender for the risk that comes along with that. That's kind of a similar sort of concept to what's going on with the dividend. So typically the payout from at least stable blue chip sort of dividends is not going to be at the level where you think it is, okay? Step 2 to that as well is what we see is when people are going into retirement, they want to know what's coming in. What's the amount of money I'm going to have coming in? Hey, I'm going to get $2,500 from Social Security. Okay, great. I can count on that. And the next thing I want is, I need to supplement my Social Security, and I need another, $4,000 a month to supplement my Social Security. And I'm going to do that with dividend. The dividends change all the time.
Okay.
Right? The dividend is typically paid as a percentage of the value of the stock, and things get better. Okay, great. They're going to go up. Well, they can cut dividends too. Kimberly-Clark, I don't know the 92-year history of the dividends. I bet you it's not exactly the same every single quarter of every single year, right? That's going to bounce around. That comes to kind of the final part, is most retirees get paid monthly. Dividends don't get paid monthly. Okay. Right? Best case scenario, they're usually quarterly. And so is there a bit of a cash flow issue there as well? That can be an issue as well, right? So it's not that they're terrible. There's some great options for going with dividend-paying stocks. Can it be a part of your portfolio? Maybe. It's just there's always something, right? There's always a pro. We talk about annuities, right? For some people, they're great. For some people, they're a really bad idea. There's some great ones out there. There's some bad ones out there. We don't do a whole lot. We do mainly money management, but they are a good solution for some people. They come with pros and cons. Your dividends come with pros and cons. All of them have negatives to be aware of.
And one of the things that I think is good about sitting down with a financial advisor is he can open up all that to you and say, here are all the choices. In your 401k, you probably have 10, 12, 15 little places that you can, invest your money. Now you're sitting down and the whole world is open to you. And right. I wouldn't know where to look, and maybe you don't either. Let's sit down and talk through that. Are dividend-paying stocks something that you would be interested in? Let's look at the ups and the downs of that. Maybe it fits into your plan as well. Here's the number and here's the website to sit down and have that conversation about your retirement, what you're in for, what you could encounter as far as problems are concerned. Let's have a strategy for all of it. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200, or online, it is retire210.com. If you go to the website, you'll see a copy of Jay's book there. You can download a copy of one of the chapters in that book. And if you come in for a meeting, you get a copy of that book absolutely free. Again, that's at retire210.com. Well, one of the topics about retirement certainly is Social Security, and we hear Social Security is going bankrupt. Well, that's not really true. The trust fund is going to run out. That's going to happen in 2032. That's only 6 years away, folks. So here's what they are now saying. They're starting to get a look at this, and they say, okay, if nothing gets done, the first year, they're going to cut your check back by 7%. Then over the next 3 years, they'll do the same, they'll do the same, they'll do the same. And 3-4 years later, you'll be down 28% on your Social Security check. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, that now becomes $1,440. You just lost $6,720 that year. So that's true unless Congress does something. So we're hoping on that. All right, let's say they don't. We got to take this into our own responsibility. What am I going to do? Is this just simply a conversation, Jay, about we need more income 6 years from now? Let's plan for that. What do we do with that conversation?
Yeah. So definitely on the planning side, that can be addressed. But let's just go back to the beginning of this, right? So I think the trust fund having to institute reductions, because that's what it is, right? It's not going to run out of money. It's not going to go away. You're going to get a reduction, which that stinks too. Right? You don't want to have that happen to you as well, right? I think it's been 5 or 6 years away from this happening for about the last 25 years, right? It has been.
Seems that way.
This was supposed to happen in 2015 or something as well, right? Like this has been going on, and it gets kicked down the road for a bit. Let's talk about the reality of this actually happening. All right, let's talk about that a little bit as well. And what are the different things that they can do to fix it? Our position is the world's a strange place right now, right? So making predictions is something you want to do if you want to look like an idiot, right? But I would be very surprised if this actually eventuates, right? Okay. I don't think it will, okay? Let's talk about some of the levers that they can pull to, even if it doesn't fix it permanently, gives it another 10 years or whatever it is, right? Because part of this is a demographics problem, is really what it is, right?
Right.
Is back when, I'm not going to get these numbers exact, right? But it's something like this. Back when Social Security started, was it the 30s, 40s?
Yeah,
something like
late
that, right?
30s, yeah.
Yeah. There was 12 workers for every one recipient. Now it's something like 2 or 3 workers for every one recipient. Okay, well, I mean, there's a demographics problem, right? Without going into the details and turning this into a horror radio show, the demographic situation will eventually fix itself.
Right.
If you know what I'm saying.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
That demographic problem will fix itself eventually.
There are fewer Gen Xers than there are baby boomers. You're right.
They just are, right?
Yeah.
It will eventually fix itself, right? So if they can buy themselves another 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is, it resolves itself just over time anyway, right? And what can they do in the meantime? Look, a lot of countries in the world, let's just say the Western world at least, have a social security system. It's called a pension system. In Australia, it's a pension. That's what it's called, right? Because pensions, social security, annuities, all the same thing. And most of the world doesn't run their pension, social security system the same way we do here. And this is not saying that is the right way, this is the wrong way. It's just these are the facts of the situation, right? So what happens in other countries that doesn't happen here? Well, the first thing is, and I don't know what it's up to now, I think it's 175 or 180,000. Only the first, let's just say 180, right? Only the first 180,000 of income has Social Security tax applied to it. So, you get your W-2 and what is it, FICA, or like it'll show you it's like 15.7 or 15.8%. You pay half, the employer pays half. That's what funds Social Security. So if you get some of these guys that are making $500,000 a year, only the first 180,000 of their income has Social Security attached to it. It's probably, whether you think it's wrong or right, I'm not for taxes, believe me, I'm not that kind of guy, but let's just look at the numbers. Could they come in and they say, well, guess what? You're getting Social Security taxes on everything you make now. Well, that's one way they can kind of boost it. The full retirement age has got to change. That's just got to change, right? So are you 67? Is that your full retirement age?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm 65 now, and so 67 is my full retirement age.
So 67 is your full retirement age. 67 is my full retirement age, and I'm 20 years behind you, right? And I'm still 67. My 1-year-old, guess what her full retirement age is?
67.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So they changed that in the 80s, I think it was. It used to be 65 and they graduated up, right? They're probably going to start pushing that out, and that makes sense to a degree. I mean, there's a bunch of other ones I could talk about as well. I don't want to bore everybody with it, but there's plenty of things that can be done to fix that situation. And I believe they will, even if it's just for their self-preservation, because the largest voting bloc in the country is older people. And guess who's getting reelected if their Social Security gets cut?
Nobody.
Not too many.
Yeah. So I'm looking right now, as you were talking there, I was looking through, I found an article about the 8 things that they can do to fix Social Security. And the first 2 are raising the income cap from $184,000 to $330,000. That would solve 26% of the funding gap. If they eliminated the cap altogether, and like whatever you make, I don't care if you're Elon Musk or you're Randy and Jay, you are going to pay Social Security on every single piece of money that you make. That would solve 68% of the problem. Okay, so you talk about
so that's just one thing.
Right. So it's going to be a bunch. They're either going to cut benefits or they're going to raise taxes, and a little bit of both is probably what they're going to end up doing.
Probably. But it's not that this is not an issue to pay attention to. It's just, I think, we've talked about fear-based marketing. This is a great fear-based marketing topic, right?
So then the question is, you say they probably won't take place, or they'll do something to fix this thing.
Right.
If they don't, if you getting into income, I mean, even debt management sometimes can help, because I know that my house isn't paid off, but in about 5 years or 3 years or something, I can pay my house off, and that frees up another $1,000, of income. I can pay off a car somewhere down the line. That frees up more income. So debt management can help you as well, along with building more income in retirement.
Yeah, so you're talking about cash flow.
Yeah.
How does your cash flow situation improve?
Yeah.
And I think the final thing I can say on this as well, right? We deliberately build our plans to be conservative, right? And I think any good financial planner should, right? And I tell clients, and I know the other advisors tell clients something similar. You can go down the street and someone is going to be able to show you something prettier than what we're showing you as far as income and your financial situation. We deliberately don't want to look like that, right? I don't want to build a plan for you where it's like, oh, fingers crossed, if everything goes right, this works out. I don't want to be sitting down with a client when they're 80 and have to say to them, hey, I thought things would have gone better than this and they didn't, so that's the situation you're in. You got to go back to work. I'm sorry. I don't want to have that discussion, right? And the reason I'm mentioning this is if your financial plan is built to such thin margins that you can't pivot and flex for the unknown, because this is what the reality is going to be, Randy. It's not going to be Social Security. It's going to be some other thing that we don't even know is going to come up 5 or 10 years from now,
right?
That you couldn't even see coming, you didn't plan for. If your plan that whoever you're making yourself, your advisor's making, whatever, if it is so tight that everything has to be perfect and there's no unknowns planned for, you haven't got a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a great point. And many of us who do the do-it-yourselfer thing, it's just very simplistic. It's, I should be able to take $4,000 a month out of this, and then I got Social Security here, and you're working it that way. Okay. But what could go wrong? I mean, if everything goes perfectly well with stock markets and taxes and national debt, and it hasn't for the last couple of years.
That's a lot of stuff that's going to go right.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's sit down and talk about what if. And that should be the beginning of a lot of your questions as you sit down with Jay and the team. What if inflation goes up? What if taxes go up? What if they cut back Social Security? Let's have a plan for that too. Give Jay a call, sit down, go through the website, retire210.com. You can start right there, retire210.com. There's a place for you to put some information in there. You can reach out to the team, get a date on a calendar, and start this conversation. It's a no-cost, no-obligation look at your retirement. Or give Jay a call. It's 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. 6200. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jay Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.